Good morning, boys and girls, and welcome once again to the southern wing of the Stink Bug Works. Today, I have lots of stuff to talk about today. First off, Big B, when I was talking about the foam and how I was doing this, it wasn't a comment on how you were approaching it. It was a comment on the failures that I've had using this stuff. This stuff has never worked well for me. And when I designed this, I said I'm going to do it that way. Please be my guest. Do it any way you want. I've seen guys get good finishes out of this, open cell foam. I can't do it. Leave that up to somebody else. Okay, next. I have new 2040 motors of a very low kV, 2280. Those are going to go into here on that little M380 cat and run on 3S. So the props that are on there now, I'm much more comfortable with. So let's move this out of the way for now. We're kind of done talking about that. One of my subscribers, well, I don't know if he's a subscriber, one of my viewers, we somehow got on the subject of aircraft and Reno racers. Now, stand by. I rent a hangar up at the Fallbrook Airport, and I used to rent it from a man who recently died. And let me tell you, when he passed, the world lost something special. He was one of the best craftsmen I've ever seen. I watched that guy TIG weld a bolt onto a nut, and that weld was so perfect. It looked like somebody took metal putty and just smeared it around the joint between this nut and this stud. And the guy did fabric wings. There's not many fabric guys left. He was the artist. Anyway, in fact, I have a picture of him in here. Let's see. This is Tom Aberley. And why, look, he's signing the t-shirt of a spectator. Now make sure, Tom, you get a good grip. No, I like Tom. He has since passed, and Jerry runs the business, and Andy Bueller now flies the plane. I'm going to cut in a little segment of Tom flying his biplane in, when was this? It might have been in 2011, but the first airplane that crosses the line is Tom's airplane, and I want you to listen to the sound. As he passes by, the number 2 airplane behind him, you can sort of hear it, but it's all about propeller noise. Now, the secret with propellers and racing airplanes with propellers is you want to turn that prop as fast as you can without paying a huge drag penalty. And what happens is the tips start going supersonic, and the drag buildup is immense. Your drag curve goes from this flat line to this steep wall as you hit that supersonic transition zone. So everybody tries to get their props right on the verge of supersonic, and that way you'll hear airplanes go by, they'll go, that's the noise of the propeller. That's not the exhaust noise. That's the propeller noise. So in this little clip I'm going to put in, it's for one full lap. Tom comes by, and then another airplane, and you can hear Tom's propeller going, and the propeller behind him going, and let's see, do I have a picture of Tom's propeller? Oh, I don't have a picture of Tom's. Tom used, I'll show you a picture next time, or maybe I'll clip one in. He used a propeller designed by a guy named Paul Lips, and the propeller was thick and round at the hub. then flattened out to an airfoil section and went out real fast to a big triangle, and then went to this long point. And the tips of the propeller, I kid you, were no more than this much. And the idea was, when you're approaching supersonic, if your wingtip isn't very big, there's not a whole lot of drag there. And it made an interesting sound. So here are some photos from Reno for my friend who flew these things. So here's Tom signing a T-shirt. This is Striga. I got to watch Hoot Gibson, Korean era, was it Korean? No, Vietnam era ace beat Rare Bear. I'm going to include a clip here of Rare Bear making a pass. And then this is another P-51 that's modded just about the same way as Striga. This one is Voodoo. And there's Dr. Jet when he actually had a girlfriend, and there's Tom's airplane. This is something you don't get to see very often. This is a Rolls-Royce Griffin. The airplane is precious metal. It got involved in a mishap where it chopped up another airplane. But you notice there's not much from 1940 in here. This has all been totally redone to stick this Griffin in here. I think the Griffin was like 4,000 cubic inches. It was huge, and it turned these big counter-rotating props. Yeah, what a beast. And speaking of beasts, you know, Tom flew biplanes, so I hung out here in the biplane hangar a lot. And I saw this guy and says, hey, come here, I want your picture. And I showed this to somebody, and they told me, oh, that's some famous surfer dude. So I thought, class, and that was cool. Anyhow, enough of reminiscing about Reno. There's a couple of clips. You may have already seen them, or I may cut them in now. It all depends. But here's the real purpose of today's video, is to block the camera with my coffee cup. No, boys and girls, I have something special. Now, you all know that the middle word in the Santee Lakes Old Boater Society motto is cheap. And to that end, I like to keep everything cheap. Stand by. I'm going to edit in and edit out. So I'll be right back. Okay, boys and girls, welcome back. And here we go with the unboxing. Now, the first word of our motto is fast. This will not qualify as fast, but it may very well qualify as the rescue for those that are fast. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I present the Tugboat. The Tugboat 686. Now, you're looking at me and thinking, Honorable Captain Sir, you out of your effing mind? No, that's not the case. These are cheap. These are incredibly cheap. Yeah, they're Chinese. We can talk about that at another discussion, but they're cheap. You get a ready-to-run boat, meaning everything except transmitter batteries. I haven't looked in there. There might be batteries in there. We'll look. Everything except transmitter batteries for $30. That's right, boys and girls. For $30 and $30, this is what you get. You get a nicely molded hull that is actually pretty scale down to simulated wood grain on the deck. Now, I'm going to stop right now and tell you, I've seen, the guys that do airplane models with airbrush and make them look totally bitchin' and weathered. I've seen somebody do that to this hull to where, there's rust coming down here and, old chains and stuff. This is actually a pretty cool scale boat. Yeah, there's some stuff but overall, you could have a lot of fun with it. Now, what do you get? You get a single cell lithium ion, because the other ones are lithium polymer. This is lithium ion. You get lithium ion single cell, 3.7 volts. It has two 280-sized brushed motors. This portion of the hull that holds the stuffing tube is actually a separate molding that's glued to the hull. So you get a good clean shot here. You have two quart nozzles. It uses a standard mini servo that appears to have been sealed. There's signs of glue on the joints and such, so I believe it's waterproof. This thing has a drain here, and the receiver and speed control are elevated off the bottom. So part of the design of this thing is it can run a little wet and be okay. You can also get, I know from experience, you can also get this hull off by accessing these 5 Phillips screws, and with a little bit of work, you can maintain these propeller shafts. You probably have to take the motors out, a couple of screws, and then unscrew the prop, and then pull the prop shaft out that way. But you could probably get several runs on these without a whole lot of lubrication. I would, just kind of oil things as best you can before you go and after you go. But they were apparently designed to be maintenance-free. Of course, you use it 5 times and it sits on the shelf for the rest of its life. The scale details are not bad. They're not great, but I've seen guys put a little pilot figure in here. You got little lights that actually should be up here. But, this thing would have a lot of good purposes. You could give it to your 3-year-old son and go, here, play with this in the swimming pool. And he could have great fun all day long ramming into the sides of the swimming pool. It wouldn't hurt a thing. Use it as is for a rescue boat, and take the idea of Big B's Proboat tugboat that has the arms that go out. You could make something like that with carbon fiber and bits of foam and keep it light. This thing doesn't have a whole lot of power. But, if you use bits of foam and carbon fiber, you can make a pushing arrangement. Now, to that end, I don't know how much power a couple of 280 motors would have, but since all my stuff is so damn small anyway, this is probably more than enough to push it. You guys with the bigger stuff, this won't cut it. But, you know, it's a great thing to go, and you take your kids out and you go here and play with it. So these are so cheap, I bought several of them, thinking I may mod one to see if I can get some like little brushless outrunners and switch it over to 2S instead of 1S. Switch it over to 2S and run brushless outrunners and get a little more efficiency and more runtime. Although this battery is so small, I could get a couple of them here in the battery compartment and double the runtime. And another thing I was thinking is either using these as prizes for a future challenge or making them a subject of the future challenge. And the challenge would be, how do you go about, improving the drive system and getting more efficiency? I think a larger prop in that quart nozzle would help it a bit. So, it's something, but $30, I mean, for crying out loud, that's a couple of hamburgers at In-N-Out in today's world. So, there you go, boys and girls. More mindless jaw-jacking from the Stink Bug Works. Until next time, jet out.